What if money could buy you more time? Not just a better car or a bigger house, but more years of life. Tech entrepreneur Bryan Johnson is trying exactly that. He spends millions each year on Project Blueprint, a strict daily routine with measured meals, extensive biometric monitoring, and countless medical tests. He's even tried transfusions of young plasma, including one from his teenage son, before deciding it wasn't worth continuing. And he's not alone. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos has backed a company called Altos Labs, which is exploring ways to reprogram our cells, aiming to undo some of the effects of aging. The science behind all this starts with a simple problem: the way our cells divide. Inside each cell, your DNA is coiled into chromosomes. At the tips of those chromosomes are protective caps called telomeres, a bit like the plastic ends on shoelaces. Every time a cell divides, DNA polymerase, the enzyme that copies our genetic code, can't quite copy the very end of each chromosome. That's called the end replication problem. The result? Telomeres get a little shorter with every division. At first, this isn't an issue. Telomeres don't contain vital genes. They're more like sacrificial buffers. But when they become too short, the cell either stops dividing or enters a state called senescence. Senescent cells don't just sit quietly. They release inflammatory signals, known as the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, that can damage surrounding tissue. Over time, this persistent inflammation contributes to age-related diseases like arthritis, Alzheimer's, and heart problems. In humans, telomerase, the enzyme that rebuilds telomeres, is active in stem cells and reproductive cells, but switched off in most of the body. Evolution seems to have made that choice deliberately. Limiting telomerase reduces cancer risk, but at the cost of gradual aging. That's because telomerase is switched on in almost 90% of human cancers. More telomerase can mean younger cells, but it also means more chances for dangerous mutations to keep dividing. Some animals, like lobsters, seem to have found a way around this. They produce telomerase in many tissues for their entire lives, stay fertile, and don't show the same age-related decline we do. But they're not immortal. They still face predators, disease, and the stress of molting. And that famous 140-year-old lobster you might have heard of, that's an estimate, not a confirmed age. Telomere shortening isn't the same for everyone. In early childhood, telomeres can shrink by about 1,000 base pairs per year on average, but in adulthood, that drops to roughly 25 to 30 base pairs per year. Interestingly, children of older fathers tend to be born with longer telomeres, likely relating to the way sperm cells continue dividing and changing over time. This effect can even be passed to the next generation. So, can we use telomerase to slow aging? Researchers are trying. A 2024 study in mice found that targeted time-limited activation of telomerase in brain and muscle cells improved muscle function, boosted memory, reduced inflammation, and even encouraged the growth of new neurons, all without increasing tumors in those experiments. It's an exciting result, but it's still early-stage work, and far from a proven human treatment. And there's one final caveat. Telomere length is just one part of the aging process. Mitochondria, the tiny power plants in our cells, gradually lose efficiency as we get older. DNA damage builds up, and proteins can accumulate where they shouldn't. Aging is a complex web, and telomeres are only one thread. For now, human immortality is still science fiction, but with advances like these, we may one day be able to keep our bodies and our minds younger for longer, and that might just be the next real game changer.